So I was in the mood to watch either a David Cronenberg movie or like a John Carpenter movie that I hadn't seen the other day, and I wound up choosing this movie. This is Dead Ringers from 1988. I've wanted to watch this for a really long time. For one, I'm a huge David Cronenberg fan. I think he's probably one of the best directors. I don't know, he has such a unique style. You can definitely pick out a Cronenberg movie. You can tell if you see a movie that is either his movie or is very like similar. He has a very distinct visual style to his movies. I'd say he's a true auteur, as they say, writing and directing his movies that are just very unique. So he's one of my favorite directors, and this is one I hadn't seen. And of course, even though it's kind of a weird movie, it's about twins, and I'm a twin, so I wanted to see it for that reason too. But not so much for that, just because I like Cronenberg. But so like I said, this came out in '88. This is probably at the height or close to the height of his popularity. I guess I don't really know because he's been around. Cronenberg's been around for a while. Started obviously before I was born. I'm a little too young to know exactly how popular he was when at the time. But I kind of like when I look at David Cronenberg's filmography, his list of movies that he's created, I kind of see them in kind of certain groupings. I don't know why, but really early on, he's from Canada. He did, I think he did a couple movies that he got funded through the Canadian government, and then he did quite a few TV, like short films. I haven't seen any of those yet. And then his early stuff like Shivers, Rabid, Fast Company and The Brood, I haven't really seen those. Those are mid to late 70s. And then the first thing I've seen of his was Scanners. Was probably his, I don't know, just in my opinion, I guess is his bigger breakthrough film. But like I said, I don't really know. He might have had a following before that. So Scanners, of course, was the movie about telepathy and stuff. That's an awesome movie. And then he did Videodrome, where people started to really kind of notice him. And then The Dead Zone was his adaptation of a Stephen King novel. And then, of course, in '86 he did The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis, and the movie's amazing. And then this is his follow-up to that. So after this, after The Fly, he did this movie, Dead Ringers. And after that he did, multiple movies. Existenz he did in '99, and I love that movie. It's awesome. And then after that he kind of started doing a little more, I don't know, quote-unquote, like, realistic movies. They're not as far out and as imaginative, I guess. Like History of Violence and Eastern Promises. They're a little more straightforward, but still awesome. Anyways, I'm kind of digressing here. Just go back to the movie. So, this is Dead Ringers. Like I mentioned, it's about two brothers. Their names are Beverly and Elliot Mantle. They're twins. They grow up, and just right away from a young age, they're really fascinated and really enthralled by studying the human body and anatomy. And then specifically, they go into gynecology. And they show them kind of going, just very, very briefly, they're in college. They develop like an instrument, a surgical instrument, and they get their college like recognition for that. And then it jumps right away to them and having a practice in either Montreal or Toronto, somewhere in Canada. And they have a gynecological practice together, the two twin brothers. And right away you get kind of a difference between the two brothers. Elliot is a little more outgoing, more social, and Beverly, or they just call him Bev, is much more of the, I don't know, not awkward, but a little more sheltered and not as outgoing. And you get the idea right away, and it's kind of stated that Elliot helps Bev kind of with his womanizing. Elliot's more of a player and stuff like that. And that's what kind of the movie is about, them being pretty unprofessional and unethical about what they do with their practice a little bit. You get the idea that they're using what they do to meet women and then sleep with them. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but Jeremy Irons plays both of the twin brothers. And one of the main storylines develops when an actress, Claire Nauvoo, comes to their practice to get a checkup, and they start doing this unseemly switching of places that maybe they've done before. It sounds like they have when they talk about it amongst each other. So Elliot takes her out, sleeps with her, but then he tells Bev that he has to go out and do the same, just because it's kind of hinted at that Bev doesn't really, get a lot of action with the ladies, and he wouldn't if it wasn't for Elliot helping him out. So Bev goes and sleeps with this Claire. She's an actress, and he ends up falling for her. He starts having feelings for her, and then after a while, Claire kind of is suspicious. She's wondering why they act differently depending on who she's with. Or she says, like, one time you're acting this way, the other time you're so-and-so. And then finally she gets told by one of her friends that they're actually twins, and she didn't even know. At one point, Bev tells her that he has a brother, but he doesn't say it's a twin brother. He says they're not very close, which is a lie because they live together in an apartment. And then she comes out and, calls him out on it and says, this is messed up. And it really, really destroys Bev. Because he claims he's fallen in love with her. He does have a lot of feelings for her. And Ellie can kind of care less, but then he wants to make things right because he cares for his brother and wants to help him get the relationship back. And then that's kind of the first, I guess, third of the movie that's going on. And then it gets really into, this is a pretty interesting look at drug addiction. So Bev starts taking drugs with Claire, and she kind of justifies it because she's an actress. It's like a part of the job. She gets introduced to it, and then they say a lot of doctors take it too. And I think Bev kind of just takes them to be like simpatico with her, kind of be on the same page as her. But then after certain things happen, he gets really addicted to he's taking pills, and then eventually like shooting up heroin, and so he has like a really bad problem. And then when she leaves for a while, it gets really bad, and then throughout this, he's still trying to practice, and Elliot's trying to help him out and get him off these drugs. And there's a really intense scene where Elliot's accepting an award. And it's kind of mentioned that like Elliot, so he's like a really good talker, very personable, and he's doing much more of like an academic kind of career path, and so he gets accepted as a professor at a big school. And Beverly, he's much more not as outgoing, not as social, but he has been doing a lot of the research, so a lot of their work is based on his research, and so they kind of need each other. And when Elliot's accepting this award, Beverly's not supposed to be there, but he comes and he's super drunk and makes this huge scene, and that's like the indication that there's something wrong with him health-wise. And then so it turns into this pretty intense look at drug addiction, and Beverly's just a huge mess, and Elliot's trying to sober him up, get him rehabilitated on his own, because they don't want to divulge that he has a drug problem because he's a doctor, and they don't want that to cause even more problems. And then it gets into a little bit of what Cronenberg's known for, kind of the body horror stuff, but it doesn't go too far. Beverly starts kind of going crazy, and he's saying stuff like, these people, they look normal, but their insides are wrong. They're like mutants, and they're weird. And he tries to have like these instruments made to operate on mutant women, he says, and he's gonna go into a surgery, and he's about to use one of these tools, and they're just like horrifying looking, and he just like starts passing out because he's so drugged up, and they kind of get him out of there real quickly, but he's done a little damage to the woman, and that's kind of what puts the kibosh and everything. And then so like Beverly's kind of going crazy, but then he's running back to Claire when she comes back to Canada after like doing a movie shoot. But then at the same time, Elliot starts having his own kind of mental break because he's saying that him and Bev need to be on the exact same level because they're twins, and whatever's in Bev's blood will transfer to him, which seems weird because they're just separate individuals. But he's saying this to like his girlfriend, Elliot's girlfriend, and so Elliot starts doing drugs to be on a similar path. He's like, we just need to equal out. And so then they just both get into this crazy downward spiral of drugs, and ends up being pretty intense. They kind of, at the end, they're treating each other as like Siamese twins, and not just regular identical twins that are two different people, acting like they're connected. So it's pretty interesting. It's really intense. Jeremy Irons gives an amazing performance. He's playing both the brothers, and right away, I don't know if it's because I don't think that's just me because I'm a twin. Like I could tell them apart right away. He does some things like with his hair. The way he wears his hair is different for each brother, which I picked up on right away. And then I guess he moves a little bit differently too. I was reading later that he would walk like on the balls of his feet for one of the brothers and on the heels for the other. So I could kind of keep them separated from the beginning. As it goes, it's a little more obvious because Bev has the relationship with Claire and all that, and actually towards the end, it's pretty hard to tell who's who, especially when they're really crazy downward spiral of drugs. But yeah, I can't say enough of how amazing the performance is by Jeremy Irons to play both roles and to give them distinct personalities, and then he's playing them on screen at the same time for a lot of it. You can kind of tell what they do here and there if they have like a person standing in for one of the twins. It's just like the back or the side. But I also read it as like one of the very first uses of like computer generated matte paintings, or I'm not sure exactly what the technology was. I didn't look into it anymore, but they somehow used like matte layering in paintings to put him on screen twice. It works really well. It looks really good. This is 88. I'm thinking they did it a little bit for like in Back to the Future 2 when Michael J. Fox is on screen a couple times. But it's more seamless than that. I know like in a couple scenes of Back to the Future 2 you can tell there's like a color difference when he's on the screen more than once. They don't have that on this at all. It's very, very Cronenberg-y. That's like a verb now. But, it kind of has a lot of what you'd expect from one of his films. It has like the intense dynamic of like psychological, sexual, a little bit of body horror, and then like oftentimes like drugs are involved in some of these. And they're all in this movie like very prominently, especially like the sexual aspects and the psychology of these twins. And that's a pretty damning look at drug addiction. I got very heavy connections to like something like Requiem for a Dream. So that's the kind of thing you're getting into if you see this, and you've seen Requiem. That's a very intense look at heroin addiction. Another movie that I just thought of when I was talking about it was something like The Prestige. And I don't know, minor spoiler alert for The Prestige, but if you haven't seen that, you should have seen it by now because that's an awesome movie. But this is, of course, twin brothers, and the dueling natures of that. If you're dealing with that as like one of the brothers, or more so like a loved one of those brothers, and they're trying to be like the same person, or you have to deal with both of them at the same time. So, and then made me want to see Legend is the new Tom Hardy movie where he plays twin brothers. That came out just a little bit ago. I heard it's really good. I really like Tom Hardy, so I just want to see how he does playing dual roles, kind of similar to this as well. I got a little bit of a vibe from there's a movie that Cronenberg's son did called Antiviral that I reviewed a while ago, a couple years ago now maybe. And that movie was okay. It's again he's taking on like his father's mantle with doing like body horror, but I thought a lot about of um, the fact there's like an actress in the very center of the story, and that Antiviral as well as this kind of similar. But yeah, I don't think I have much more. It's getting to be a long video. I really, really liked it. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. So definitely, if you're a Cronenberg fan, you'll like this. It's very much his style. It's not, it's not a like a feel good movie. It's very, like I said, a damning look at drug addiction, but it's very, I think, very intense and interesting. Has a lot of things going on. Um, Makes you think about things. So yeah, it's a good movie though. 4.5 out of 5.